What is the first thing you tell somebody to help themselves out when they get stuck in the snow?
Are you wearing your proper clothing? Do you have boots?
Right.
A lot of scarves. Sometimes I see those girls out there like,
Yeah, what are they doing?
tube tops.
Who do you think they are?
I don't know who they think they are. They think they're
You're gonna get pneumonia.
Snowman.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Chiaspora. I'm your host, Marc Morgan. Today we have an amazing guest. Yes, she really is amazing. This is Lisa Linke.
Thank you.
And you will know her as one of the stars of Bless This Mess. She's been in a lot of Chicago. She was in Shameless.
Yes.
This Is Us.
Yes.
You did Blackish.
Yes.
I think you've just covered every single thing on network television, right?
I've been very fortunate.
You've been busy lately. You are a Chicagoan by like every standard. Your dog's name is Wrigley.
True, one of them, yeah. By
So
Wrigley and Zoe.
which is, and you have videos on that as well.
Yeah.
You should check that out. She's got a lot of great stuff online. But I was going to tell you that you went to Champaign. You're from Champaign.
I was born and raised.
And that is where I went to school for a couple of years.
You did.
I did.
You did. Okay, so tell me now, where did you live? Did you live in the six-pack?
I love it. You just go through the dorms. No, I lived at Illini Tower, which is a private.
Okay.
Well, hold up.
Excuse
Funny
me.
thing is, when I got in, I got in late.
Sure.
And what happened was
No rooms.
there were no rooms.
Yeah.
My friends lived in Allen Hall.
Yeah.
I had friends in the six-pack. I had friends
Sure.
all over. And I literally had to cough up money to be able to live there.
Although,
I could have lived with Linke.
Not too shabby.
No. They were nice. But, to be honest, it's not my crowd. Believe it or not, like we live in L.A. in the Valley, which is like considered like the suburbs.
Yeah.
In Chicago, I lived in the city.
Yeah.
So I was a city folk. Wait,
you were a city kid. So
I
you
was
grew
a
up
city
in the city.
kid.
What part?
I went to Von Steuben. I was in Rogers Park.
Come on.
Yeah.
I love Rogers Park.
Well, good.
My best friend, they lived there before they moved out.
Where did you live when you were in Chicago?
So I started off at Armitage and Sheffield.
Okay.
And then I just kept kind of moving northwest. And then I went to Fullerton and Southport. And then I ended up at Roscoe and Racine.
Yeah. So I was similar. So I lived in Rogers Park.
Yeah.
I went to U of I.
Yes.
Then I came back, lived on Fullerton Seminary, right across the street from DePaul.
I know exactly where that is because I was at Fullerton and Southport.
Exactly.
So close.
It's right next to each other.
Yeah.
And I went there, took the L, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And then my wife went to DePaul. And when we met in college, she literally came across the street to come hang out with me, which was really cool.
That's nice.
Yes. We're still married. So that's good.
That's great.
And then we moved to Belmont. So I actually went further north.
Yeah.
So it was
Belmont
it was Belmont and Sheffield area.
Yeah, baby.
I know, and I lived at
That's
one point.
great.
I know, dude. All that area. When you're
Here's the
young
thing.
and you're not with kids
in LA,
and stuff.
They don't understand the beauty of a grid system.
No,
city.
I've talked about this.
So you could say like, oh, I was at 2400 North, and I had a friend visiting in from DC, and we were meeting up with friends. They were like, I'll meet you on the northwest corner of whatever, and she was like, I didn't bring my compass, and I was like, you don't need it, asshole. The lake is always on the east side.
Did it mess you up when you moved here? It's like, wait a second, east, west, where's the water? The water's west, right?
And when you look at a map, the water is sometimes south and sometimes west.
I know.
It's very, very strange.
When you get into that specifically like a Hollywood, West Hollywood area, and you're starting to get these weird diagonals, I'm like, look, I don't understand this.
It took me years
Can
of
someone
visiting
fix
Manhattan to like figure out.
Well, they have
water's everywhere.
Yes, but they do have a grid-ish system as well.
They do, but like you come up and you can't see the water.
Right, which is a problem because
you come up out from underground and you're like, it's all glass.
Well, usually
Where
it's
am
just
I?
usually it's just like smoke. But yes, New York.
So if you were tuning in today for how our city's different,
Right.
you are so happy.
Yeah, exactly. Today you're going to realize you're going to want to move. So I think that's the name of this podcast.
You're going to want to move.
Move to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I was just talking to Erin, publicist Erin, who is
She's a delight.
She's
laughing so hard because she's like,
she's hidden behind curtains.
You guys are the dumbest.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, she's like, I have no idea. I'm from Seattle, but we were talking about how if the entertainment industry were in Chicago, would have I moved? I don't think I would have moved. I think I would have stayed, even though I do like warm weather a lot.
Yeah, when I left, there were not nearly the number of shows that are filming there now.
Oh, well, no. Now it's like,
there's a lot, but also like my friend Matt Barbera, who's so smart, he made this really great observation about Chicago, and at least when I moved, that production and talent were never really intermingling like they do here in LA.
It doesn't, because the infrastructure is here. I mean, that's how it that's how it runs.
Yeah, and they use their own people over and over and over. It's
of course.
hard to break in.
It's very much like its own little union thing.
To get talent mixed in with production, it just doesn't happen. And that was the thing I noticed when I moved here. It was like, everybody has camera equipment.
Yes.
Everybody has a film degree. Like,
yes.
Everybody is willing to work. And
yes.
that was just such a different... What it took to make content in Chicago was so different than what it takes here.
But the willingness, this is what I found. I made a couple indies in Chicago before I moved. Yeah, we'll talk about some of your amazing web series stuff. But
the willingness is there.
Very much so. It's like almost people are willing to do almost extra just to be involved into something big, which is awesome. But obviously, you kind of... we moved out here for a reason.
Sound, like all of the infrastructure, it's easier here.
Yes.
Maybe it's different now.
I mean, I talk to people out there. It's except for like YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
There are YouTubers definitely in Chicago that don't have to move anywhere. But that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. They're not making
GoPro and
exactly. They're making smaller stuff.
Right.
So
we figured it out. All right.
Yes. Congratulations. We made it. So I just want to let's go over timeline. I actually want to get it. So
I was born.
Let's stop right there.
Just
yeah, and you're one.
There we go.
So you were born in Champaign.
Yeah.
And then how long did you live there before you're like, hey, I need to get over?
My whole life, I lived there. I went to university. I went to college at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana.
I almost went there.
It's everybody's B school.
The most beautiful campus ever. I really think it beats Illinois, to be honest.
Oh, it's the most beautiful Big Ten campus.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
What did you study?
I was undeclared for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I became a sociology major, which is still basically undeclared. And then I got my major in sociology, minor in psychology, and a concentration in economics. And then I graduated and had no idea what I wanted to do. So my best friend and I moved to Atlanta for a little bit to 10 bar and wait tables.
Out of all places, you're just like, let's go to Atlanta?
Yeah. And because it was up and coming and super fun. And because I'm old. And then...
you're 1 year old. I think we've already established this.
Thank you. And then I moved back to Champaign to go to grad school. And I got my MBA and my master's in human resources. And then I moved up to Chicago and started working as a consultant and then started studying at...
You worked at Deloitte, didn't you?
I did.
It was
Deloitte.
My wife, then. Yes. Well, well, you must be ancient now.
Yeah.
No. Honestly, it wasn't that far removed. It wasn't that far.
Well, now in Hollywood, I mean, Hollywood years are like dog
I don't
years.
care about Hollywood years. Screw Hollywood years. I'm a
That's
Chicagoan.
Right. This is a Chicago podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say talent. Yeah, it rises above anything else.
There we go.
Always.
There we go.
No, my wife, she interned there, so she's in
firm.
finance. So
I can't speak highly enough of it. I loved my time there.
So, but here's the funny thing. So you said, look, I'm bored out of my mind. I have to do things like improv.
Thank God.
Stressful
they
life.
hired me, and I was on the beach for like the first 6 months, and I had no work, and I was taking classes at night, and I am a good consultant in a sense, but I was not.
Your heart has to be in it.
Yeah, and all my good friends, minus like 1 or 2 from Deloitte, were all from the administrative side because I was in the office and they were in the office, and all the other consultants were out on projects, and I didn't have any. So, it just wasn't right for me. My cubicle looked like a party threw up in it. Like there were figurines and like streamers from a birthday thing and like, pictures and toys, and
everybody else does it like one family photo and everything else is gray.
I sat next to an actuary and like my goal was to see if she had teeth. I was trying to make her smile.
Or a personality.
Yeah. Like it was a mismatch in that sense. But then, I was in human resources strategy. And so it was a little more like, whatever. But listen, I loved it. I love the people. I still have great friends. We're on an email chat or text thread, and we love hanging out with each other. But it was not for me, and I started studying improv at night at the Second City.
So tell me about Second City. Who was your small group? Was there?
I was taking there before the training center even really was built. So I was taking classes on the 3rd floor of St. Alphonsus Church on Southport and north of Belmont, but south of.
North Diversey?
No,
north of Belmont.
No, south of Belmont, but north of
Fullerton.
That big church that's like at a 5 ways, St. Al's, and usually they have like plays and some concerts there.
Is it the one that has a huge organ?
Yes.
I filmed a movie, and they have a balcony.
Yes.
I filmed a movie there once.
Nice.
I forgot what the name of the church was called.
It's huge. I'm
yes.
not done that, but yeah.
Yeah, but it has a really beautiful.
In the summer and on like winter, third floor, like they used to have like dance rooms.
Really?
Yeah, that's where we would take.
Oh, I
classes.
didn't know that. That's funny. You and I probably we might have cross section if you just did like a
100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I took classes there, and then in the summer of 2001, I gave my notice and quit, and it was great. And then I nannied, and yeah, it was a long time because there's really only like 7 jobs and 10 jobs in Chicago to make earning a full time improvising.
Oh, sure.
And not even really, and those were all full. And then I got hired by Second City on the business side to do corporate workshops.
Oh, that's
so I would travel around training with my MBA.
Huh.
Facilitating corporate improv workshops. Yeah. And that's where I made my bread and butter and really facilitated my kind of acting lifestyle.
How did you get in? First of all, in high school, were you doing acting then too?
Yeah. I always missed the fall play because I was a swimmer. And then in the spring musical, my voice isn't the greatest. So I would be like, back up something. But like,
You just knew when you were going in, you're like, just where am I going to do backup here? Is that how that went down?
I would have done better in the fall play, but I was swimming and I didn't want to miss that. So, yeah, I mean, I did. I just kind of, I think in my mind, I was like, that's not for me.
Here's the truth, though. And I'm just off of observation and everything I've seen. You're just like a spunky person. It's almost as if it's one of those things where you just kind of know if somebody can play roles or not, or because there are some people who they're just stuck. There's no like you're those cubicle people. What I'm saying is like you just know this person. If they threw some lines at them, they could probably play this up.
Yeah, I definitely come alive in front of an audience. That's for sure.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So then essentially you gravitated towards it. You were at Second City.
Yeah.
You did the other stuff too, didn't you?
For sure. I trained there at IO, at The Annoyance. Comedy Sports. Like you
did the whole gamut of Chicago,
and
which is great.
About a year or so before I left, left for LA. I was doing about 8 shows a week at different theaters. So, it wasn't equity pay like people on main stage in the ETC were making,
sure.
but for me, I felt like I was really racking up my
it's like your
hours, my reps,
your credits for it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But did you actually? So you were saying that it wasn't part of the workshop stuff, but you didn't meet anybody there that eventually you moved out here like, oh, I remember you from Second City?
Everyone. I mean, the beautiful thing is that from like 99 or even for earlier on, improvisers were moving out here and kind of making little footholds.
Of course. UCB originally came from, do you know that?
Yeah.
I think it came from Chicago.
Yeah. So Matt Besser and Amy Poehler and Ian Roberts, and they had met in Chicago, I believe, and then started their own and then moved to New York and then opened their theater there. But like, I knew so many people. So people just kind of kept moving and gravitating, and I knew them. And then I would also see them when I would be on gigs with Second City on the business side and with other companies. And then I would have friends who would leave. And by the time I moved out here, I had, I don't know, 20, 30 people that I knew.
Basically had your little fraternity or sorority, like basically already out here. Isn't that cool?
It is really cool too, because LA is such a big place to know that like if you move to a certain neighborhood, you're already going to have people nearby that you know and love.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, there's a building in Los Feliz on Rodney where there's like 20 Chicago people that live in the same building. Huh. They take care of each other's dogs and they travel, and it's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny. When I moved down here, though, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And I literally we moved out, and
it's a tough city to move to.
I literally started from scratch, and then I started finding out how many people, like if you go to a Cubs-Dodgers game, forget about it. Like there's half the stadiums are Cubs. It's crazy.
So many Chicagoans live here. It's nuts.
So were you always a sports fan growing up? Or was it when you moved to Chicago, you're like, oh, I like that Wrigley Field. I'll name my dog that.
I mean, I named my dog Wrigley before I got my dog, and then I was realizing how stupid that was because it's everywhere with every pet. No, I grew up in Champaign, so I always had Big Ten sports.
Yeah.
Basketball, football, I loved it. And then I swam competitively, and then in college, I couldn't afford going to games at Indiana. Those tickets are pricey for basketball, not for football. I mean, I was more into tailgating. And then, I am not I usually got to like 1 or 2 games a year when I lived in Chicago, Wrigley games, and that would be fun. I am not a big fan of professional sports at this moment. I do boycott the NFL and have for about a decade. No,
Wow.
maybe 8 years.
Because of like health issues, like the concussion stuff.
Yeah, I did not like how with my degree in human resources and labor relations, I was very angry at how
the league is handled
was treating the players union. It was terrible. I mean, there are people who die penniless.
Yes.
I
know.
And it's the way that they treat them is terrible. So I had that, and then there was all the domestic violence stuff, and then there was Kaepernick. So I was really happy to be boycotting them for years. NBA, I think, is a little bit better. The Major League Baseball is actually pretty good in terms of setting its people up for success, and that they give like education to new players and things like that.
Sure.
But that lifestyle, this too many away games, a lot of, they have the highest, MLB players have the highest rates of children born out of wedlock because they have
I was going to say cheating
away games.
Well, you always hear the story about the people, significant others in different cities kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they have the most games in general.
And they have like 2 or 3 nights in the same place. Games.
Right. So they're right. Exactly. So they can hang there for a little while.
Yeah. And not that's
pretty
bad,
sad.
but like they can do what they want. It's just,
it's not good to keep a marriage like that.
Well,
it's harder.
People get to do what they want, but I don't feel like, I feel like, again, the power structure is not good. It's a lot of old rich white men making money off of young, predominantly non-white people, and I don't fuck with that.
Yeah, you ain't into that.
I don't fuck with that. I don't like it.
That was most Chicago. And I'm off from
I don't like it. Yeah.
You were in the Wrigleyville area.
Yes.
So you did
Lakeview.
go to a couple. You did do a couple games, stuff like that.
All of them. I mean, I started off in the bleachers, and then I got older. I was like, I can't do that shit.
Yeah, it's intense.
It is intense.
For those people, just wait till the 7th inning, and if you can still watch the game, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you were doing your classes. You were kind of living that life. Were you holding different jobs while you were getting more into acting? Were you doing like any weird odd jobs in Chicago? Any places?
After I stopped working at the Pottery Barn / Poverty Barn, I was nannying, and then I started doing gigs for Second City Communications, which is now I think called Second City Works, where I would travel and facilitate corporate improv workshops. And that was pretty much my bread and butter.
That's great.
We got paid way more than Turco, and we stayed in way better hotels. And I mean, I went to Australia, I went to China, I went to Europe multiple times. Like I went to South America. I loved it.
I know. Travel's awesome.
Yeah.
If you could do it.
Yeah, and not have to pay for it. So that was great. And that really afforded me the opportunity to just kind of study and play and teach and write and direct and perform and all that stuff.
So you have this amazing web series. You have to check this guys out. It hurt me that you weren't using a Chicago accent during it.
Yeah.
But it's I forget the second person. It's Len.
Rick and Len.
Fix shit in your house.
Yeah.
And literally, it's 2 people who are a bunch of goofballs who don't know how to fix anything, go and try to fix people's houses, and that's like the whole thing. It's like it's a cross between a reality show and a fixer-upper show, and it's horribly amazing. It's like
thank you.
It is so good.
I watched it again the other day. And
it is amazing. It's you really almost like want these characters just hanging out with you. It's so funny.
We have ideas for like what we would do.
Like, don't give it up. It's really you got to do it.
It's old now, but it's good. Like
Doesn't
it
matter.
still holds.
It's so funny and it's
My
ridiculous,
friend
and your
Robin
banter back and
Scott,
forth.
Brilliant woman.
She's still in Chicago, or is she here?
She's still in Chicago. We came up with these characters. We were in Cancun, for her birthday, and we were swimming in the Gulf of Mexico, and just started with these voices. And
it's like the redneck.
Yeah,
voice. Well,
and came up with these 2 dudes and just wrote a series and put it together and scraped together the money and found great people, Mark Campbell and Mike Benson, to be our DP and director, and just had the most fun. We shot most of those in my house, in my townhome, and so like ripping up the carpet.
Yeah, I was gonna say you ruined some stuff in there.
We sure did, and that's okay. But like, it was. I love that series. It's so fun, and in Chicago, people loved it. This was probably 2012.
I don't even remember.
So like 7 years ago, but outside of Chicago, people did not understand they were like, are you supposed to be women who want to be men? Like, what's happening? And we were like, no, we're just characters.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Just give it up.
I look like a Polish janitor.
Yeah.
And she looks like the Neanderthal Willie Ames. Like,
Right.
that's what,
It was great.
It's super fun.
When you were doing that, this is before, I want to know when you really felt like, okay, this is, I'm going to make a career as an actress / improviser.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because I love improv. And for me, there's no better drug than making a room full of people laugh.
Sure.
So like when I was doing improv shows at IO or at the playground, and I would be feeling great, but I also know like there's no money in this. Like literally it's costing me money to do this, either by having to
Classes
park or pay or pay a coach. So at that time, again, the acting pool was very small. In Chicago, there's like 3 casting agencies and one of them hated me. So like I didn't really have.
You want to elaborate that? They just
didn't. Yeah, no, they didn't like me because one day they called my agent and asked if they were casting a quote plus size that was like not my size. And they were like, it's a 14. I'm like, I'm not a 14. And they were like, well, could she be it? And I said, no. And then they didn't call me in for anything else.
Well, you know what? Then you don't need them.
Well, when there's only 3 in town and you just cut off 33% of your opportunities, like that was the shit I didn't like. And I finally, kind of got to a place where I felt like I'm ready to move to LA. And that's tough. Leaving Chicago was so hard.
Well, of course. I mean, it's kind of like that's where you were doing your stuff. You had a freedom to it. I felt the same way. But it's just this thing where innately you knew if you really wanted to push it, you kind of have to move.
Yeah, I just didn't want to end up like a decade later doing the same shit.
Well, you're doing a lot of stuff now.
I'm doing a lot of different stuff now.
Come on there, Linke.
I know. What caused you to move? What brought you out here?
They're just porn.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you're in the valley, so
I just said, "Where's Chatsworth on the map?"
Yeah.
And my wife said, "There."
Also, you get a lot of it free online.
What?
Sorry, it's very expensive to move. I wish you would have talked to me ahead of time.
I have a full like weekly package thing going.
Oh.
And that was not a pun. I'm just saying like.
Nice.
No, I moved out here because I wanted to make film and television.
Yes.
And that's literally what happened. I moved out. I knew nobody.
Yes.
I took on 2 internships. I've always tell people, like, if you really have at least a little bit of talent and you're willing to just kind of show up, you have a shot.
Listen, I think I'm so sidetracking you and I don't care. I think that most of the world operates this way, that 90% of the job is showing up on time and doing it.
This town is small.
It is.
Like people don't really, it's huge, but it's really
the industry is small.
If you're exactly. So your reputation, if someone just hears, oh, like no joke, I've gotten producing jobs just because someone knew of the guy that I worked with who did a music video for this one band. He heard of the band. Yeah. He knew of the guy. And then it was like, oh, legit.
Because so many of us have been on shoots where our friends like, how was it? And we're like, it was a shit show, right?
Right, exactly.
But then when they say, how was it? We're like, it was actually really good.
Well,
then the next time they're like, hey, who were you working with? And we always remember that name.
Right, exactly.
But here's the thing I want to say is that I think in the Midwest, we're different stock. And we're used to showing up and doing our work.
Right. This is like the norm. Exactly.
So I think that when we come out here, it's very different. And I don't know if you notice this, but in Chicago, it's in the Midwest, it's a different thing to say, like, this is what I want, and I'm staking it and saying it out loud. It's kind of not cool to do that.
You talking about in Chicago?
In Chicago.
Well, in Chicago, it's just different because I think, well, first of all, there's a weird economic thing a little bit too.
Yes.
For example, like getting a nice car, someone is just kind of like, well, do you really need that?
Yeah, it is a little bit of the culture of like, it borders, it's a fine line between claiming what you want and stating it and bragging. It feels a little braggy or like, who do you think you are? But out here, you cannot succeed if you aren't going to say,
your job,
this is why I'm here.
Your job is I literally was talking to somebody the other day who literally believes this. You're your own walking billboard here. It doesn't matter what you do. You have to say, it's like mandatory, which kind of sucks in a way because some conversation, the reason I love this is because you and I are friends even before you walk through the door.
Yes.
It was just the way it is. We're from Chicago. We get each other. But, you go to the gas station, all of a sudden you're talking to some guy. believe it or not, sometimes it's good for you to just say, I produce this show or I do this thing because somehow it comes back. It just does.
It does.
But what sucks is a lot of the conversation is just strictly about the entertainment industry.
It's true. But like, I just feel when I moved here, there was such a liberation and like that it's cool that there are billboards everywhere about shows and that like people are actively working to make their dream.
Yes.
And it's cool to be involved in that. And it's never weird to say like, this is what I want to do.
I 100% agree about that. And it's also really cool that literally this city is just creative. Like everybody.
Yeah. It can be annoying.
Yes.
The Midwestern in me gets really annoying.
Yeah, it's like, calm down over there.
Yeah.
But
it's like the energy of the supermarket does not need to be discussed.
Right, exactly. Can I just get some mustard?
I just need to get through the express line.
Why are you acting right now?
Exactly.
Calm down. The caliber of people who've been here, it's amazing to talk to these Chicago people because talent. You have a lot of talent. And I want to talk to you even more about that. But no joke, like
Thank you.
I really, really, truly believe that I was watching. I mean, Bless This Mess, by the way. If you haven't seen it, it's a really a lot of funny characters, a lot of like, it's just goofy, and I love it.
It's a wonderful ensemble.
But I've already seen in all these roles that you've had, it's like you can kind of play like whatever it is you have to play. There's a small scene you did, and I think it was in Grey's Anatomy. Mm-hmm. And you're just like bawling your eyes out and like letting it happen. I'm like, that's very different than some of the other characters you played.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that.
Well, thanks.
You did well.
Thanks. I think it's because I'm truly unhinged. No, I really...
Let's bring in a therapist.
Yes, thank you. My manager is wonderful, and she has always seen me as somebody who can do anything, and she always promotes me and pitches me, and I owe a lot to her.
I'm going to say this. And I'm going to say, I don't say this to many people. It's going to happen.
Oh, well.
No. It's going to happen.
Thank you.
I mean, it's already happened. It's already happened. It's happening.
I mean, I feel really fortunate to be working and have worked on so many like recognizable shows.
Yeah.
Especially when those residual checks come in. Like,
especially
when you do a show and then the residual check comes and it's like 13 cents, you're like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll take a nickel.
But then sometimes you're like, that aired years ago and what?
No, that's the best thing about
that's fun.
Yeah. By the way,
realize...
for those of you who don't know this, residual checks, this is one of the reasons why writing strikes, acting strikes happen. It's because specifically, actors might do a small commercial, might do something, some small role, but because they're part of a union and so on, they get money for years. Hopefully it stays that way. And so do their agents, so does everybody else. Oh, by the way,
everybody gets a piece of that pie, baby.
Anytime you hear whatever they made, 20% here, 10% here, they're cuts. But it's a tough gig.
People, I would say for 95% of actors, working actors who are union members, it's not.
It's a grind.
It's a grind. And you don't know, you're not a series regular.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're showing up for one day.
No, you're jumping in, you're jumping out.
One day, you don't know anyone on set. You're the new kid on set. You have to figure it out. You don't know where the bathrooms are. You don't know how they work. Like, it's not glamorous.
No.
So when they fight for that stuff, like, yes, it's for the agents. Yes, it's for the managers. Yes, it's for the people who are making like $1 million an episode, but really it's for those people who are counting on that $300 check to come out, and save their ass.
Yep. It's kind of a metaphor for this country a little bit.
Oh my God. Don't get me started.
But you gotta do it.
I can't do it.
You're drinking a LaCroix, you gotta do it.
It's a nice, refreshing drink.
This isn't a tailgate. What's in that LaCroix?
Oh, that's right.
But it is the grinders who really kind of keep it going. And if anybody has ever seen a film set, like a real film set, and by the way, this is one thing that when I first moved out here, and I'm curious to hear your story on this. Was it weird to see trucks?
Well, it was so fun because like when I would drive around with my friends, all my improv friends who've been here, they would say like those yellow signs with the arrows or something, that's what that is.
So
that's what this is.
For everybody in Chicago who's never seen this, they're actual yellow.
You probably have seen them now in Chicago.
Oh, that's true. That's probably true. They probably have. But what they'll do is they'll have a name for the production, even though it could be Bless This Mess, but they'll never call it that. They'll call it, Puny Pruny or whatever it is. And they'll have it on a black text on a yellow sign, and it'll just point to like where they expect you to park and things like that. But they have just trucks on trucks with grip equipment, with lighting, with whatever, and they just block off areas. You'll see police officers around. when I first came here, I was like, oh my gosh, this is
It's
huge.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, okay, it's a Tuesday, whatever it is.
I mean, I think that was what was so great about making content in Chicago is that like
It was unique.
and like when we made our web series, ideally, essentially, it's the same. You have a location, you have your equipment,
Of course.
you have your actors, you have
Just have more people.
Yeah, and then depending on the size of the production, the set and everything just gets bigger.
Yes.
So like by the time I went to shoot Shameless, I was like, I've never been on a set before. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I was like, oh, actually,
It's exactly the same.
Exactly the same. It's the same process.
Right.
It's just more people, more equipment, more stuff.
Was that your first? That was
my first.
That was the first.
Because they shoot the exteriors in Chicago.
Correct. I've had some friends who've been in the show,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And they do have some actors who, Ethan Kukowski, I think, is from Chicago.
Yeah,
and there's a few people. But that must have been awesome. It's a big show to start off on.
I was over the moon. I found out I was pinned in a production meeting before we left, like for a big Second City gig that I was leading. And I was like, I just hung up the phone. I was like, I just got pinned for something. And everybody was like, yeah. And I was like, what does that mean? And so then when I flew to New York and I landed and I had like 7 missed calls from my agent in Chicago. And I picked up the phone and she was like, you fucking booked it. You fucking booked it. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, when is it happening? And she was like, oh, next week. I was like, okay, good. Cause I'm in New York. And she was like, don't you fucking give me a heart attack. So I just walked around Times Square that night and I was like, I just booked a co-star. Like I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't understand it, but I was super excited.
That's awesome.
It was so great. I had the most fun. I was just soaking everything in. I mean, it was super not glamorous. We were sitting in a gutted out car in August, no AC, no shade. It was not fun, but it was great.
No, those are the best times. That's like when you like realize like, oh my God, this is real filmmaking.
Yeah.
This is what it really takes. Holy crap. And then like you look it on screen, you're like, I don't look as flustered as my face felt at the time and stuff like that.
It was so, I think doing improv has really given me the gift of not freaking out ever,
In life, yeah, exactly. Like
especially on set. Like
it's awesome.
Shit happens and I'm like, all right, let's roll with it. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so how did it start steamrolling where it was like, okay, this is working. And now I'm going to move because I had enough. Like, how many shows did you do there? Or was it just one? And then it was like, you knew.
Yeah,
time to go.
I mean, I was like, my agent in Chicago was like, if you have a good pilot season, then you should move. And I was like, I'm not getting a pilot season here. Like, there's no perfect time to move. I just need to gut up and go.
Yeah.
So I did. And, I moved out here with no connections. I had no agent, no manager, no nothing. My agent back in Chicago was not really interested in trying to submit me on stuff. And so I started from scratch.
Did you move into like with a roommate kind of thing?
No, I had 2 dogs, my 2 big dogs. And so I found the only place that would take them because they were over 20 pounds.
Is it in Hollywood area?
Yeah. I'm still in the same place.
Same spot.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, I just was having to travel a lot for Second City still to make money to kind of afford living here. And at some point I just realized like, I have to commit to being here. I have to let that money go. It was really terrifying. It's really hard. Because they would just call or email and say, do you want to do this gig? It's however much money.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, I need to.
Yeah.
But I finally had to say no. And then I want to be here. And I started studying at Leslie Kahn and Company, which I loved. I was very fortunate to start there like 6 months after I moved. And 5 months, yeah. And I've been there ever since, and that really has been my saving grace because that building taught me what I needed to do to execute in order to book.
So they actually told you practical stuff. It wasn't just like educational stuff. It was like, hey, go to this audition, talk to this casting director. What did you do? What were the steps?
So I teach there now. I'm not teaching right now because I'm working so much, but I teach there.
Not a problem.
Right?
Big problem to have. That's great.
Yeah. What I like about how they study there is that it's a text-based approach and an executable approach. So like I have 0 formal acting training. I'm steeped in improv. I have, a lot of comedy writing, and I have taught comedy writing. So I'm okay with text analysis. I've gotten so much better. with this, but really it helps you understand what's on the paper and what you need to do. Because, and even if I had a theater degree, most people with theater degrees don't learn how to get an audition the night before and go in the next day.
Yeah.
Because that's how TV and film works in 2020 in LA.
Right.
It's not take this monologue and work on it for 4 weeks and then you'll present it,
Right.
So you have to, and a lot of, and for me, I think I would love to take time and study a lot of method acting. But a lot of those, working on intentions and objectives and all that stuff, I don't know if you can develop that overnight.
Sure.
In the scene that is presented to you. A lot of that stuff was also based on brain chemistry that is no longer valid based on how we know the brain works. You know what I mean? Like, it was created in the mountains in Russia and you needed months to kind of work on it. So for me, when I get an audition at 7 o'clock at night and I go in the next day at noon, I need stuff that's executable.
Sure.
That I can go in and do and make them realize I have to have her. She's the one. And everybody else is doing great work too. I assume that we're in the Olympic Village of, we're in LA.
Of actors, yeah.
What it really helped me learn was that you just can't go in there and with your special sauce slathered the fuck all over it because you're not doing what the writer wanted.
Right. You have to mold a little bit, of course.
You have to execute what's on paper first.
Nowadays, at least, the way you're getting things, are people seeing you from the other shows and they're going, oh, that's one? Or is it still in the process of your agent will send you out? How is it going right now? Like, I'm just curious.
It's a mix of both. Like sometimes for smaller indie films and things like that, I might get like an offer, but still I'm auditioning for, episodics and pilots and things like that. So
tell the audience, I'm curious, tell the audience what the process is. People don't even know. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like who contacts you and stuff like that.
So I have a manager and an agent, and my agent submits me for auditions. My manager, I think they work together a lot to kind of decide if somebody has a warmer relationship with a casting director or a production. And if a role comes along that's right for me, or if I know of something, that I'll reach out and say, hey, can you get me in, or can I put myself on tape for this?
Sure.
Because there's a lot of self tapes now, and
right, people. It's crazy. It's like literally take your phone, send something to me that way.
So, then if I get the audition, I'll get the sides, which are the audition sides, sent to me, and maybe the script. And usually it's a 24-hour turnaround if it's on tape. I also have an agent in the Southeast. And so that is always upload through,
online. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that was great. This past summer and fall, I auditioned for a show that I would have loved to have been on, like multiple roles many times. So that was good. That like the casting director recognized and liked me, but like nothing ever connected, which was a bummer.
We didn't even talk. You're going to be on a new show on Netflix.
It's out.
Oh, it's out?
AJ and the Queen?
Yes.
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, I saw the trailer not too long ago.
Yeah.
It actually looked really interesting. I haven't seen it yet, obviously.
Yeah, it was so fun. I mean, to work
What's
with
the role
RuPaul,
you play?
I play
So RuPaul, the idea is that RuPaul is not always in drag in this movie.
No.
Plays by a character named Robert, I believe, who basically takes on a young kid.
It's like a stowaway.
Right.
He's touring around doing like a drag tour.
Right.
And Izzy, who's plays AJ, is stowing away wants to go to Texas.
Right. So they kind of like buddy hanging out. And your character, what was your?
I play like an insurance and like a hospital insurance administrator. It was so fun to work with them and like just to be around RuPaul and hang out. 2 days.
Isn't that crazy?
That was fun. Yeah, it was really great. My episode I do like. It's it's heartwarming. It's I think episode 8. So they're like kind of coming to the end of all their time.
Everyone's going to be watching this and be like, all right, I'll just skip to episode 8. I have no idea what's going on.
Fine with me.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just get that quarterly check. But I do wanted to also ask you about this podcast. So you have your own podcast.
Yes.
But it's funny. It's called Go Help Yourself.
Go Help Yourself.
And the whole idea is you and Misty, you guys happen to like read a bunch of and talk about self-help books.
Yeah, so each week one of us will present to the other, who acts as our audience and listener, a popular or not so popular self-help book. and the other one listens with a critical lens. I happen to listen with a much more critical lens because I fucking hate self-help.
Right.
And Misty is a genius at finding a golden nugget out of a true steaming.
What is the
pile of
weirdest
shit.
thing that you've ever like come across? You're like, do we
She
really need
read
this?
Texts So Good He Can't Ignore, and that episode is so funny. It was written by this guy who's a prolific writer of like incredibly misogynistic books. It's one of our funniest episodes because we just cannot believe the shit that he is purporting. So that one is super funny. And Misty read it and she hated it, so that was great. But like we've read over 50 books now.
Wow.
And between us, and we've had a couple authors on to interview.
Not that guy.
Not that. I mean, I would welcome him on, but there's no way he's coming on our podcast. And it's really interesting. We've learned a lot about the genre, and this year, so we did all of 2019. We released 2 episodes a week, and this year I bought some books for us that are about the genre and not just self-help. Huh. So I'm getting ready to present next week when we record this kind of like chronicle of how American self-help books came to be. And I'm learning a ton of it. It's amazing. So like our very first episode was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. We've also done like the life-changing magic of tidying up. We've done,
I feel like there's so many people who are trying to like do the motivation shit and whatever else. And a lot of it's like heavy masculinity stuff where it's just
there's
like,
so much talk.
bro, you gotta like,
we just covered Can't Hurt Me, which was by that Navy SEAL. He was like a Navy SEAL and an Army Ranger. And he's run like all these ultra marathons since then. And it was a horrible piece of shit. Toxic masculinity piece of shit. I hate every book we've ever read. There's like maybe 2 that I don't mind.
Isn't it weird that you have to hate something to make a show out of it?
Listen, when she called me and she was like, I want to make a self-help podcast. Do you want to do it? And I said, I fucking hate it.
And that's why you're doing it.
Well, and then she was like, oh, and I said, but if you want a counterbalance, I think that would be good. Because just 2 people kind of geeking out over self-help, I don't know how many people listen to it, but somebody getting irrationally irate about a man writing about an upper limit problem, which is one of the very first books we covered, and we still talk about him. That's fun. That's comedy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You have to have fun with it.
Yeah.
There's no way you're gonna.
And it's a comedic self-help podcast, so we do have a lot of fun.
I wrote up a few things. You're an improviser, okay?
Yes.
And we're gonna do a little segment. It's gonna be called "Go Help Chicago," and what we're gonna do is in a shortened version.
Okay.
I'm gonna spitball a bunch of scenarios.
I love it.
Where you're gonna have to help a bunch of Chicagoans out on what exactly you should do in these scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
Self-help.
Here I am. I'm ready.
All right. Yeah, you gotta get ready there.
All right, let's do it.
Margie, let's do it.
All right.
All right, here we go. You ready for this?
Okay.
All right. What is the first thing you tell somebody to help themselves out when they get stuck in the snow?
Well, first of all, why are you out there?
Yeah.
Second of all,
yeah.
Are you wearing your proper clothing? Do you have boots?
Right.
Leg warmers?
Yeah.
Do you have your long johns?
Yeah, there's a problem.
Yeah, and a lot of scarf. Sometimes I see those girls out there and like.
Yeah, what are they doing?
Tops.
Who do you think they are?
I don't know who they think they are. They think they're
gonna get pneumonia.
Snowman.
Yeah.
But if you're out there stuck in the snow, now is your car stuck in the snow?
It's car specific.
Oh, okay. Well, if you have the AAA, you gotta call the AAA.
Oh, yeah, you don't pay for that for nothing.
No. What part of the city?
Let's say on Halstead, and we could say Belmont.
Well, you're right there by Boys Town. You just knock on one of those gay bars there, and they'll come push you out.
It's a good answer there. You're a Cubs fan, but your significant other is a Sox fan. What do you do about that?
Now, this happens to a lot of people.
It does. What do you do with the kids?
Well, you raise them your way.
What if it doesn't work that way?
Is your wife a Sox fan?
She doesn't care about sports that much.
Okay, well then you're fine.
Yeah, I'm not. This is not for me. It's not my self-help book. I'm trying to help the city of Chicago. There.
My best friend is a Sox fan.
No joke. I'm not. I don't hate the Sox. I
don't hate them either. But I'm always going to call it Comiskey.
Of course.
What is this, Sally Field?
Well, now it's not.
What is it now?
Guaranteed rate.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that's
it's news to you there.
Guaranteed shit. Guaranteed shit.
You're on a date,
all right,
and your significant other starts putting ketchup on their hot dog. What do you do?
I put ketchup on my hot dog. This has been this podcast, and now
it's been a good time there.
Listen, I was once at this great party called Blues on the Green, and my friend Kevin's friend had a blues band on his front lawn, and we were drinking, and we were day drinking. It was a long day, and I hear over the band, Linke! Linke! And I'm like, and Kevin marches over and smacks the ketchup bottle out of my hand.
Oh my God.
Smacks my hot dog out of my hand and goes, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I'm putting ketchup on my hot dog. He goes, we don't put ketchup on hot dog. Like I laughed so hard. And then he just was, I can't believe I heard him over the band. My God, that was decades ago.
It is a very taboo thing to even think about.
Yeah. But I do. I like a ketchup on a hot dog.
I don't like ketchup at all.
Also, I don't eat mammals anymore. So like, if you have a chicken hot dog or like a veggie hot dog, it needs a ketchup.
Interesting. You don't eat any meat, or you just don't eat?
I don't eat mammals.
Beef.
Or
you
pork.
don't eat. So you don't eat. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, no, that's fine. But obviously that changes the way you enjoy a game.
Yeah, I mean, like a chicken sage hot dog. You know what I mean?
No, that's fine.
You can put enough salad on it, but it's not going to work.
Your best friend thinks the LeBron's better than Michael.
You tell him when he gets 3 peats, then we'll talk.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Let's have some quantifiable metrics.
Right. Yeah. You can't just make it about emotions. You actually have to put a number to it.
And he does it 3 times back to back.
You come across somebody who wants to call it the Willis Tower.
Is it a tour guide?
No. Funny thing is, I took a tour with family not too long ago, and the woman says it's the Sears Tower is right there, and I remember thinking, as a tour guide, shouldn't she have to say Willis? And she was like, no, actually the naming, someone asked afterward or something. She's like, no, the naming rights is only for like a part
That's right.
of the building.
That's right.
But why do I even have to hear the name Willis? So what do you do?
I smack him in the mouth. No.
That's the way to handle your business here in Chicago.
Yeah. I feel like, does anybody really do that?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't live in Chicago. I don't do
what happens? Well, I guess what I'm saying is, say somebody comes
Here's
into
what you
Cleveland.
do. Do they give you a paycheck? If so, then you're like gently like, just so you know, nobody calls it.
And no paycheck. They just
no paycheck. You're like, what are you fucking moron?
You pull a
the Willis
you put
you on the Willis payroll? Fuck you.
By the way, do you think they made their employees like in that almost like probably what the White House feels right now? It's like all the employees are like, hello, I work at the Willis Tower. The Willis Tower.
You know what? I do have a friend who's on Tinder in Chicago, and she's like, every profile picture is from that fucking glass floor.
Yeah. Is that right? That's like
everybody's
that's like the place to be sexy.
I guess
it's the weirdest thing.
They're like, I already know you're in Chicago. Like.
So this is a legit thing, and this is kind of like a self-help, more like a tour guide thing.
All right.
Somebody wants to move to Chicago, and they want to know, what's the best way to be my best self in Chicago? What are the top 3 things I need to do to be like immersed into the city?
1, learn how to make a casserole and take it to neighbors who are either sick or have a funeral or a baby.
Why specifically Chicago for that?
That's Midwestern. That is Midwest nice.
I love that. I mean, yes, I agree with this. Yes.
Because like people just don't do that. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
well, here if I can know like 2 neighbors, I'm like, lucky. It's crazy.
2, get a parking space. If you're going to live in the city, demand that you're like, that's a non-negotiable.
It's a great piece of advice.
And 3, like, live near an L or a bus if you can, because it's too easy to drive in Chicago and then you end up in traffic.
It's just funny. You just gave like different things. You're like, get a parking spot and make sure you take the train.
Yeah, because listen, you're going to take the train to work, but then anytime you're going to run an errand or go to dinner at night, you're not going to take the L to go to your neighborhood dinner, and if it's cold, you want to walk or whatever. Like,
well, that's the thing. That's the cool thing about Chicago is you have choices. Here, it's kind of like you're stuck in the car no matter what.
Also,
And-
like I'm a little bit older, so I am not going to waste my time circling looking for a parking spot. I don't do that anymore.
Worst experience I ever had for parking was in Chicago, New Year's Eve. We went to a family, whatever. I was living on Belmont, Sheffield area, right by the train.
Yeah.
And of course, you come there that night, nothing. 1 hour. I drove around 1 hour, blocks upon blocks away. It's the worst place to have to deal with that.
Yeah, New Year's is bad.
Do you eat deep dish?
Yeah.
What if somebody doesn't like deep dish?
Well, they're stupid. Who's your deep dish in Chicago?
Well, this is a great question. I've been trying to like get sponsors for this thing, and I hit up all of them. Personally, there's one hole in the wall that no one really knows about.
Ooh.
We gotta go.
Ooh.
It's called Bert's Place.
Where?
It's on where, Mark? Where the hell? Put it in the GPS right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's on Dempster, and it's in Morton Grove.
Okay.
It's in the burbs. But here's the thing. The thing about the deep dish pizza is that there are a lot of people who did it together, and then they sprouted and did their own things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I grew up near Gulliver's, but really Lou Malnati's is my spot.
Me.
Like, that's like out of the chain.
I like Malnati's over Pequod's.
I like, by the way, Pequod's is awesome.
Great.
Have you been to Gino's East here yet?
I haven't. We should go.
So we can
Let's
try to
go.
arrange
We
something
should go.
together. It's good. Where else have you had deep dish out
My
here?
other favorite deep dish is a weird deep dish. It's Oven Grinders.
Where's that?
It's
In Chicago?
Yeah, it's on Clark Street.
Oven Grinders?
And they bake it.
Sounds like it'd be a sandwich shop.
Well, they bake it in a bowl, and then the dough is on top, and then when they come to you, they flip it over.
Wait, I'm so confused. What? So is there sauce on top?
So whatever you want in your pizza goes in a bowl, and then they cover the bowl with dough.
It's a bowl.
Like in a bowl.
It's like a bread bowl almost kind of thing.
No, in a ceramic bowl.
Okay.
But then when it comes to the table, they flip the bowl over.
So it's literally an upside down. I get what
so
it is.
then it turns into a pizza. It's truly delicious. It's this little tiny hole in the wall. The guy
And Clark and
Clark.
All right, I'm gonna look it up.
Diversity?
Everybody look it up.
It's cash only.
I think you helped a lot of Chicagoans today, so good job on that.
Well, listen, what the fuck do I know? I live in LA anymore.
Yeah, well, you've been here for what, 10, 15 years now?
It'll be 7 years in May. I say Chicago is my heart and LA is my home.
Yeah, it's very true. But I mean, obviously, I built a show around it. But last questions though, your family.
Yeah.
They've got to be the proudest family in the world right now of you.
I mean, sure, they have their own lives. Like,
Well, yeah, they don't even care anymore. Yeah, was there a point where family was actually saying you can come back, and then they turned over and they're like, you know what, you're doing all right?
No, my Grammy, who's
Is that the one? I think I've seen you do like Instagram with her. Or
yeah,
something.
she's 108 and a half, and every time that I see
Wow,
her,
she
she's
saw
like,
the Cubs.
Are you sure that you don't want to? You're not going to come back? And that one always guts me.
But that's a different. That's like she just misses you because of whatever.
Yeah.
Are you both your parents still around?
My mom still lives in Champaign.
Uh-huh.
My dad lives between South Carolina and Palm Springs, so I get to see him.
Oh, good. So
yeah, a couple times
he's
a year.
around.
Yeah.
Are they again very supportive of the things that you've been up to?
Yeah, my mom loves to watch, and my dad, when I call, he'll be like, "We saw you the other night." I'm like,
almost like
I bet you did.
Almost like flipping through channels, just so happened to find his own daughter.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I think too. Like I do. I have an older brother, and he's fun and funny. I think it's just interesting for them. I think they were always too scared that this would be like a real career path, you know, that like it seems too risky. So it's interesting that
a lot of people who feel that way.
Yeah.
And they're not 100%
they're not
wrong.
wrong. Yeah.
In closing, is there anything you would tell Chicago people? Any advice, any piece of knowledge you can give them?
One of the things that's great about Chicago is that it's a very friendly and forgiving city, especially in terms of comedy. There's so many training centers that audiences are often students, and they're often people who know that people are kind of like on their way up. And I think that for me, the transition out here was learning that there's not a lot of forgiveness in audiences here, not a lot of forgiving nature. You gotta hit your point of view, hit it quick, and know what it is very sharply. And that's just a difference in, cultures and locations and where we live and
also the
industry
and
and I think that sometimes that very forgiving nature of an audience can make us not work as sharp as we need to in this side of the country. Does that make sense?
Of course.
I don't want to say it that we don't, because we make incredible things come out of that town, but
you really gotta, when you come here, you're tried. You
weren't given a full 3 minutes to figure out what your fucking improv scene is about.
Right.
So, and that's okay. I think that's good. I think it makes you,
it lets you know. Up. Do you feel like you knew really quickly when you were out here, like, hey, I'm here now. I'm going to either sink or swim. Was there a moment where you're like, well, I definitely made the right decision? Or you just knew that right away? You were just like, okay.
I mean, do I know it yet? Yeah. I mean, I think I'm definitely not like packing up to go back. But I think that like it's just a hustle, It's a hustle every day.
You keep going.
Thanks, man. You too.
I'm 100% serious. Like you really, there's only one person in the world that I remember I actually put that like little thing where it's like, this person's going to make it. And they did. I went to the LA Film Festival and there was that girl, Brie Larson. If you know Brie Larson.
Yeah, I do.
Starred in a movie called Short Term 12.
I love that movie.
I saw it when it just came and I was like.
Everybody in that film is great.
Movie's phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the awesome young casts, amazing. But I remember seeing her and I said, this girl is going to be fucking massive. I knew it right away. I told my wife.
She's Captain Marvel.
She is Captain Marvel. But
she's Room and Captain Marvel.
And she's Room. By the way, great film.
Yes.
Room was unbelievable. She won an Oscar.
Yeah.
But I just remember looking at my wife. I was like, I'm not fanboyish. I don't. Maybe for one or two people.
Yeah.
Most of the time, whatever.
But you were blown away when you saw that.
She was in the hall, and I looked at my wife. I was like, should I say something? She's like, if you want to. I was like, no, I don't want to be that guy. I kind of wish I could now, but I remember looking at her and going, I'm looking at what I know is going to be the greatest actress like ever. She is
great.
So good. I'm telling you, you just keep going.
I'm going to be in a film where I'm held captive against my will. And then I'm going to be an Avenger. And for that, I say, yes.
Can you imagine if all of a sudden tomorrow you get the call, you're going to be
what
like.
Avenger would I be? I'd be the one who was like, you guys, do we have to go? I'm so tired. Special powers that I organize trips. You guys, I'm so tired of leaving the galaxy.
The scheduler.
Stop it. Ugh.
Yeah, traffic manager.
You're not getting back to me with your selection for where we're going next.
Yeah, you should do. You should do HR manager. HR manager.
Yeah.
This is great. What if
is it?
Yeah, we really just made a Marvel movie. I'd actually rather watch that than most of the Marvel movies.
Well, you're the one. You're the one.
Whatever, take it. Where can people find you? What should people find you at? Tell me everything.
Hi, you can find me on every social media platform at It's Linke, ITSLINKE. And our podcast is Go Help Yourself, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And I'm on Bless This Mess.
Yes, you are. And
Tuesdays,
you should also let people know about your improv thing on Instagram.
Yes, Sundays at 12:30 Pacific. I do a live improv show on Instagram. So you just go to my feed and click on my live streaming, and
but they throw you a character. You have 60 seconds to do that character.
I just do 60-second character monologues. I do scenes. Sometimes we play with whoever's watching. They'll whatever suggestion they give, I'll do a character. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's
fun and easy.
It's fun. Yeah. You should definitely keep it all up.
It'll be 3 years in May.
You really are killing it. You just gotta.
I'm hustling, baby.
Keep going. Right under that Hollywood sign. But hey, thank you very much for watching Chiaspora. Definitely check out Lisa's stuff. And again, thanks for watching and listening.
Yay!
Talk to you later.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, you're awesome.